Hello, good morning. We are currently live on YouTube, currently live in the Beat Floor Studio Facebook page. And give me a minute, we're going to go live in the Learn How to Make French Beaded Flowers Facebook group. Hello. All right, today is February 7th, 10:01 a.m. here in the Midwest, USA. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Fen. Just a little bit sick today. Last week, well, you know what happened last week. I had to reschedule. Couldn't come on Friday, went on Wednesday instead because Friday I had a field trip with my youngest. And lo and behold, I got sick from being in the school bus supervising a field trip. So remind me not to do that again. Good morning. Okay, but it's been like a week, but I'm at the tail end. So if my voice sounds weird, that's why, because I'm still a little congested. But the show must go on. We are here. Hello. Good morning. So maybe a little bit slow today. So just bear with me. I know you guys bear with me every single time, and I'm a little bit slow every single time, but that is okay. So today I thought I would do a little bit something different. I'm not going to do a project today. I thought I would kind of have some coffee and chat. I have my mushroom dandelion coffee. So, and some sweetened condensed coconut milk. So, yay, cheers. Have a drink. I've been trying to cut back on coffee. So, but I still have some mushroom coffee left. It's like instant mushroom coffee. So I thought, you know what? I should drink it up. And it's got, reishi and turkey tail and all the good stuff in there. I know I have all the mushrooms in my pantry, but it's easier just to make an instant. So, all right. If you're on, say hi. Let me know what you're watching from and what project you're working on. Okay, looks like we have, okay, if I butcher your name, I'm sorry. Mike Chella joining us. I'm sorry I butchered your name. I'm sorry. Okay, so today I thought I would address some of the inaccuracies in this magazine. Actually, if you're watching from, is it mirrored? It doesn't look mirrored. Okay. I thought I would address some of the inaccuracies in the Better Homes and Gardens issue with the beaded flowers from last year. So a lot of you joined our group because you found this magazine, and then we're getting all sorts of questions about why isn't this working? And today I'm here to address some of the inaccuracies in here, and hopefully that will help address some of the issues. Hi, Deanne. Okay, so, and I know it's an older issue, but I still got DMs not too long ago saying, hey, Fen, I saw this issue of Better Homes and Gardens, and I thought of you. So we're still getting people, and we're still getting contacted from people getting access to this issue of Better Homes and Gardens. So I want to address some of the inaccuracies in here and why, and the reasons why there are inaccuracies in here. Okay, it looks like we have FNC joining us. Mushroom coffee does not sound appealing. Okay. It does not taste like mushrooms. They're not, like button mushrooms. They're medicinal mushrooms. So they make it taste like coffee. They add the powder to the instant coffee. So it doesn't taste like It's not like you're chomping on a button mushroom or anything like that. So, or chomping on a portobello. No. But I added some dandelion in here too. So dandelion root, if you roast it, it tastes like coffee. Dandelion and chicory, if you roast it, they taste like coffee. But again, it's also instant because you know what? I have all the stuff, but I don't feel like doing it. All right, let's get started. So again, still getting lots of like questions about this issue. So I want to go over some of the stuff in here. Maybe a little bit of history, maybe a little bit of a history lesson because that's why there are inaccuracies in here. Maybe back in the 1960s, all the information in here would be correct, but not these days. Like we are living in 2025. We are not living in the 1960s anymore. So things have changed, materials have changed, and so that's why. All right, let me switch the screen. Okay. All right. So yeah, FMC D. Try some mushroom coffee. You might like it. You might get some benefits. But like I said, I'm trying to avoid coffee, but I already bought it, so I should drink it, and then I'll avoid coffee again. It's not that I don't want the caffeine; it just makes me pee all the time. So that's why. Okay, so beautiful flowers, right? And that's why it's drawn so many of you to us, to this community of beaded flowers in the past year or so, because there's been an influx of new members for beaded flowers, so which we definitely appreciate. Okay, I know this is on page 88. But y'all have questions. And he's like, why, Fen, why is it working? So okay, 88. I'm gonna zoom in here. Okay, this is where it starts. But before I go on this page, I'm gonna go on the next page here. It says right here that they've took all of their information from these books from the 1960s, right? This book, which I have, and the bouquet from Beads from Osterland, which I have right here, which is a newer print, but you know, all the patterns are the same. And I think I have the wall bead book somewhere. I can't find it. I decided last minute this is what I want to do, but I can't find the wall bead book. I don't even know if I have it or not. I may or may not have it. I probably do. It's somewhere. Okay, looks like we have Judy from Virginia joining us. Hello, Judy. Working on Lauren's Chinese lantern. That is, what month was that from? I think that's from September? No. When is it? Okay, all these dates are, okay, so that is a reason why we are having a lot more catch-up months, because I know you guys are way behind on your projects, right? Way behind on your projects. So, okay, while you work on your projects, I will keep talking. You're just joining me. Let me know what projects you're working on. Okay, again, these books from the 1960s. Background information. This is where they're getting the information from. Okay, go back to the previous page. Yeah, Judy, it was a while. It was sometime last year. Sometime last year. Okay, zoom in. Okay, so here are the couple of things that I've noted. One, they are advising that you use 26 gauge wire as the main wire that you use. And it doesn't really tell you what type of wire. Now, we all, like modern designers, we'll tell you the type of wire to use. We always advise that you use that you use copper core wire, because that's the wire that's most available right now. It's a lot easier to work with. There's a lot more colors. It's more pliable. So it's a lot easier for you to work with. And like with the books from the 1960s, if you look, they will ask that you use 26 gauge wire. And that's where the magazine is getting is that's why they're using 26 gauge wire, because these books are telling you to use 26 gauge wire. But the difference is, back in the 1960s, people were using galvanized steel wire. I still have a lot of these from from when I started beading from like 20 some years ago. I bought these maybe 10, 15 years ago. They're still unopened because I switched and now I'm spoiled. But anyways, they use galvanized steel wire, because this is what that is, right? Does it say here that's galvanized steel wire? I don't know if it does, but it is, because it is galvanized steel wire. And that's what I used to use when I started beading. And also paddle wire, which is also galvanized steel wire. It's just like florist wire that florists use to, whatever it is that they do with florist wire. I don't know what they do with it, but that's what they use to tie bouquets together and whatnot. And us French beaders, we use it to make French beaded flowers. But galvanized steel wire is what they used to use. And because now, modern day, we currently use copper core wire, just because of the benefits that I told you earlier. There's a lot more colors. It's easier to use, easier on your hands, and non-tarnish options, which is also nice. I mean, yeah, most of the copper core wires are non-tarnish. So that is nice, because then your flowers over time won't tarnish, yeah, it won't tarnish. So, but I have found that silver copper core wire does kind of tarnish as well, and the bare copper wire kind of tarnishes just a little bit, but not as much as the galvanized steel wire. It was not as I don't know if you can see, but this is a lot darker now, even in the bag. It was a lot lighter when I purchased it. It was, like a regular, it was bright silver when I purchased it, and now it's really dark. So that is the issue if you use galvanized steel wire. It'll just tarnish over time. Especially if you use transparent color beads, it's gonna, turn black and stuff. So that's one of the things that you need to think about. So another thing, galvanized steel wire versus copper wire. Let me bring some copper wire in the picture. Okay, so this is one of the brands that we use, which is zebra wire. And also, what is it? This is para wire. I bought okay, so, well, I guess story time. Story time. When I first started beading, like 20 some years ago, I started beading using paddle wire. But, well, no but. There's no buts here. I started beading using 26 gauge paddle wire, which works, with the books. So great. And then I said, okay, I was in the Yahoo group. If some of you might still remember the Yahoo group for French beaded flowers. I joined that group for French beaders, and they recommended para wire. And so I went on the para wire website and bought a bunch of 26 gauge wires, copper core wires, for beading. And lo and behold, to my surprise, these 26 gauge wires do not work with the patterns in these books because copper wire is a lot thinner. Well, not thinner, just like less, it's more pliable than galvanized steel wire. So I'm using 26 gauge wire, copper core wire for the patterns in this book, it's not going to work. So I would need to use 24 gauge copper core wire for the patterns in these vintage books, right? So if you're finding issues, if you are following these patterns from these vintage books from the 1960s and you are using 26 gauge copper core wire, it's not going to work. It's going to be flimsy. You're going to find that it is very, very flimsy. Okay, so there's our little history lesson. All right, next. All right. If you guys are just joining me, welcome. I'm just going on a little rant. Just going on a little rant. And having some mushroom coffee. Okay, so I don't know if anyone have had a complaint about this issue. I haven't heard anyone talking about this issue, but I looked at this and it definitely is a big issue. Using a needle to string the beads on wire. Well, maybe with the 26 gauge wire on, maybe it would go through the needle, but is there really a need to put the wire through the needle to string the beads on wire? I mean, in all of these books, in all of these vintage books, right, in all the directions, I have not seen the directions say, put the put the needle on your wire and then string the beads on wire. And I was looking for my bead spinner needles, because when you buy a wooden bead spinner, it comes with these needles, right? I've donated them all or threw them all out because I'm thinking, who the heck would need a bead spinner needle? Even if I were to donate it, I donate a lot of stuff to our local library's makerspace. We have a makerspace that's really awesome. So I can probably go there and see if I can find a sample that I donated. But who uses a bead spinner needle to string beads on wire for French beading, right? So I'll show you how to string some beads on wire. We don't need a needle, or I would like to try to do it on a needle. Next time I go to the library, I'm going to find one of my needles. I'm going to find one of my needles and try to string some beads on there, use on the needle, see if it works. But maybe they got it to work, but that's just not effective, in my opinion. So okay, so they want to do, actually, maybe I should do one of the flowers, huh? I should. Okay. Then I don't want green. I'm doing a flower. I want a different color. All right. Orange. Orange is the color. I've got beads all under my desk now. Makes it a lot easier. But I'm still going to use use my blue. Well, maybe I don't want to use my blue. Okay. I'm just going to use this purple because it's next to me and I don't want to go get other things. Okay, so you guys, you don't need a needle to string the beads on wire. Okay. So now if you look on here, the first instruction says, using your bead spinner, spinning counterclockwise, spin the beads onto a spool of wire with a curved big eye needle. You don't need to do that. Yes, I spin counterclockwise because I am right-handed. And I hold my wire with my right hand and then I spin it with my left hand. And that's how I get the beads on the wire. But if you are left-handed, you may spin the other way. It works the other way around too, right? So there are different ways that people will, well, maybe we should do a bead spinner lesson. Let's do a bead spinner lesson too. Okay. I'm gonna try to be left-handed a little bit. Okay. So I'm right-handed. So I curve the wire. You want to curve the wire like this. So curve it so it looks like the needle that comes with your bead spinner normally. Hi, Teresa. Good morning. Okay, so if you're just joining us, I am just going over some misconceptions from the Better Homes and Gardens magazine. Okay, so I'm going to turn counterclockwise with my bead spinner and put my curved needle in there, and the beads will jump on. Right? Very little effort. Okay. Okay, now, if you're left-handed, well, I don't know how our lefty friends do it, but if you do this, how would you do it? Would you do this? Yeah, you would do this. Hold on to a left hand, have the curve go this way, and then turn clockwise. Obviously, this is not natural for me. You might want to, adjust your curve. Okay, it's jumping on. It's not natural for me, but it's jumping on still. Okay, just adjust your curve. If these are not jumping on, adjust the wire. Woo! Not bad for using my left hand. I've never tried it using my left hand before. Whew. Okay, it's not natural, but if you're a lefty, that's how you would do it. So regardless if you're right-handed or left-handed, you can turn it clockwise or counterclockwise. Most people are right-handed, so that's why the directions say counterclockwise. But just so that you're aware, you can do it either way. Okay, I'm just going to put a little bit more in here. Okay, I'm going to put on the screen the link for my bead spinner if you guys are so inclined to get my bead spinner. Okay, that's where you can find it. All right, let's see. Okay, continuous loops. Okay. I was reading through this, and the continuous loops is, I think the directions are fine. Continuous loop variations. Kind of didn't read through it, but the name looks fine. The name looks fine. Continuous wraparound loops. Have pedals, multiple loops. Use. Okay. The directions look fine for the continuous wraparound loop. Okay, continuous loops and sections. Techniques, create flowers, lots of skinny petals. Follow the continuous loop steps. Instead of completing a circle, leave the loops as they are, will become one section. Repeat until you have about 6 sections. Join the sections. I mean, for such a small flower, I would just make them all into continuous loops. You don't need to make all these into 6 sections and then joining them together. My opinion. Okay. All right, lateral continuous loops. And I believe, okay, looking at the technique, I think in the vintage books, they're called loop backs, I think, not lateral, but anyways. But technique looks fine. Okay, I have major issue with this one, the basic, with what they call the basic loop. Well, directions look fine, and a lot of us can tell, what it is. It's the basic frame is what we call the basic frame, and I do realize that. Okay. Oh, sorry. All right, let me start again. I do realize that different, depending on, where you are in the world, designers may call things the same techniques, different names. But if these names are, taken from these books, they're just making up names for the basic frame. It's called the basic loop. If anything, the basic loop, I would call the continuous loop the basic loop instead of the basic frame. The basic frame is not a loop at all, right? I notice in the books, they're not even called the basic frame. It's called, some of them call it just basic. When French beading became popular in the United States, or when it was first brought to the United States in the 1960s, or around that time, by Virginia Nathanson, I believe she's the one that Okay, let me try to. Sorry, I'm having a hard time saying words today. She's the one that popularized the terms that we currently use today. So, if you want to reference certain books for the terms, you should just use the correct terms, right? And not just go and make up names. I know our friends in our European friends that are our European designer friends that design French beaded flowers. They will use different terms, and we know why because those are the terms that they use for the designs. Like they'll call it an arc instead of a row, like we do here um, in the West. In the US, we call it a row, they call it an arc. But we realize that we realize the difference because you know the, just those are the differences. But if you are referencing a certain time frame or if you're using a certain reference, just stay consistent with the references. So I don't know if it was a mistake that they called it a loop or what, but it's the basic frame and not the basic loop. All right. Okay, let me try to make this to see like how flimsy it is, right? Because we are using 26 gauge wire and we're doing a 2-inch basic. Okay, it's asking for a 2-inch basic frame. All right. Count row 1, sit about 4 inches below. So they sit about 4 inches below the knotted end. Okay. So you want 4 inches like this. That's too much. In my opinion, that's too much. How big are you making this? If I'm just looking at the picture, you don't need that long of a top basic wire. Let the rest of the beads fall back. Take the fringe mirror. Okay, so I'm going to assume that's not what they meant and that they want a 4-inch twisted wire and loop because the wording is confusing. So they sit 4 inches below. So it sounds like they want a 4-inch twisted wire and loop. Bring the length of beads slightly longer than the basic count up from the spool and push the length snugly. I don't know what that. Bring the length of beads slightly longer than the basic count up from the spool and push this length snugly against the left side of the basic count. Okay. So if you see, this is 26 gauge wire and it's quite wiggly. And now this basic is quite long. I already see problems. Wrap the working wire around the basic wire. Wrap at a 45-degree angle for a pointed. Do you want to point it? Okay, well, let's do a round because that's what the picture looks like. But they're teaching you how to do a round or a point. Repeat steps 3 and 4 on the right side of the basic row to create row 3, okay? Repeat steps 3 to 5, bringing up more beads for each row until you have your desired number of rows. Now I'm just going to make the number of rows on the picture, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 rows. Or not, because I may not have enough beads. Snow sniffly. Okay. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Wire cutters. I am not prepared today. I am not prepared. I know. Blasphemy to use scissors. All right, Judy says, looks like the instructions read 2 inches of beads. Yes, Judy, that's what I use. I use 2 inches of beads for the basic row. But I already can see the issue with using 2 inches of beads on 26 gauge wire. They didn't really specify what type of wire, so a lot of people, may get copper core wire and find, a lot of our members have, already asked a lot of wire questions, especially about the galvanized steel wire and why the gauge of wire that they're using is not correct. And I certainly believe it's because of this article. So normally, okay, so yeah, this looks like 9 rows. Normally, if I were to make this, so I just followed the directions and looked at the picture, did the 2 inches of beads, 9 rows, and using the 26 gauge wire, and you'll see that it is very flimsy. I would normally recommend 24 gauge wire. So you will have a lot better time to make, this size of a unit using 24 gauge wire instead of 26 gauge wire. Okay. And there's one more thing that I'm going to go over, and then that'll be it because I'm getting loopy. Loopy and ranty. Okay. I'm not even on any meds or anything, except mushrooms. It's not the psychedelic kind. It's just, regular, medicinal kind. All right, so one more thing. The thing about the stem wires right here, that they're asking you to use 20 gauge stem wire or 20 gauge wire for the stem. That is way too thin. I mean, I myself do use 20 gauge wire um, only when I want a really thin stem. But when I do that, when I use 20 gauge wire, I strategically use the 20 gauge wire so that they're all, I don't normally use it as a main wire that you would stick in a vase, right? Not just one 20 gauge wire, attach a flower onto it, and then, have it stick in a vase. That is too flimsy, even for galvanized steel wire. Normally, when we use stem wires, we use galvanized steel. We still use galvanized steel wires for the stem wires. But to put one stem of 20 gauge wire, let me see if I can, I have some right here. Okay. I think this is 20 gauge stem wire. Oh, I don't think you can tell the difference on camera, but it is quite, very bendy, very easily pliable. For beading, yes, it'll be hard, but for, just like a regular stem, it's very bendy, right? So to attach this and then make a bunch of flowers and to stick it into a vase, it's going to be very flimsy. So I would recommend at least 18. I mean, for these flowers, at least 18 or 16 gauge wires. Like I was saying, when I use 20 gauge wire, I use it strategically where I would either use it towards the top of flowers for the top stems. And then as we go down, I may either attach. Oh, I have an example here. Did I use 20 gauge wire here? I think I did. Well, these are the begonias that I made a while ago. So with these, I used 20 gauge wire, strategic for the top of the stems. I don't remember if I used them for everything. No, I didn't, because for the leaves, well, even for just the leaves, I used something thicker, right? Not just 20 gauge wire. I think I may have used thicker for this. And then you build onto it using thicker stem wires, as you go down. You don't want to just use, it looks like the flowers here are just like one stem. And if it's just one stem, I would not just use 20 gauge wire, 20 gauge stem wire. So there's that. All right. I think that's all I found. But the main thing that I want you to get out of this from Ala today is just know the difference between the wires that you're getting and the patterns that you're following. Whose patterns are you doing? Are you doing a pattern from a US designer, or are you doing a pattern from a European designer? That may make a difference. I don't know if the wires, I don't think the wires are too much different over there. But definitely if you're following a pattern from a vintage book, then you definitely need to be aware of the wires that you're using. Okay. Lisa, yes, the wires are limited back then. You would just use this. You would just use silver galvanized steel wire, right? That's all you would use. Not that it makes a huge difference in that it's limited. The difference is the type of wire. The difference is that is the galvanized steel versus copper. So yes, it's limited in color, but color, we have tons of colors now. Where's my green? I mean, we have tons of colors now, but that makes no difference to the color makes no difference to how pliable it is. So, and don't use. I don't know if people have used aluminum wire or not. I think some people may have tried, but that's even more pliable. So it would not give you the stability that you need in your work. Okay, so that concludes today's live. So hopefully it clears a lot of things up. It sounds like, and I know it sounds like I went on a whole rant, and it probably is. It probably is a whole rant, but I hope it has been helpful. And also announcements, you guys. Let me put some QR codes up. I have 2 classes coming up in April with Virtually Ever After. So if you are a beginner beader and would like to learn French beaded flowers and you want to get started and don't know where to get started, I have a intro to French beading class. There's a QR code on the screen. Use your phone. Take a picture of the QR code. It'll take you to the site at virtuallyevercrafting.com, and you can sign up for my class. This intro class is very affordable, and it is a rose. A rose is a flower that most beginners start out with. So if you want to get started, definitely check the Intro to French Beaded Flowers class out. It is my enchanted rose. Okay, and next I have another one. Okay, so this necklace this French beaded sunflower necklace class also coming up in April in the Virtually Ever Crafting event that I'm doing. So also in April. What day? I forget what day. The Enchanted Rose is April 23rd, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Let me see when it is for the necklace. Necklace is April 26th, 1:30 to 4:30 p.m. So that's a 3-hour class. The rose is a 1-hour class. It is a short. So it is a great way to be introduced to the techniques. And kits are also available. So so yeah, that is it. Thank you for joining me today. And I will see you next week. Have a great day. Oh. FMC says, thanks, Fen. First time here. Great explanations. Thank you for joining me. Appreciate it. I will see you all next time.